So now in this lesson we are going to see how to use the silicone molds. They come in really very handy. Like most of the times I suggest people to create things of their own and try not to use the silicone molds, but when we are in a hurry and then we have to mass produce a lot of cakes and we don't have time, and time is very important, right? So these kind of molds, and there are quite a lot more even I have in my collection, but these are the examples of what the silicone molds are and how we are going to use them. So basically these are pretty simple, but however getting a neat mold out of it, like we are going to mold fondant or gum paste in it depending on where we are going to use it, and getting a really very precise cut out of this is something that even beginners tend to miss out on a few important tips and tricks. So I thought this was essential to be included here. So you can see mats that are available. They are of different qualities, and the silicone material also comes in different qualities. Some are good and then some are a bit flimsy, but we can just try and understand how to use them. So you can see these are all florals. So basically we are just going to pop fondant into it, and then we are going to take it out. These impressions are going to be on the right side of the fondant, and then we are just going to place them on the cake. And most of these intricate flowers all go really well for the bas relief if we have to do without having to really sculpt something, but we could just place them on the cake, mixing and matching with a few other stuffs. Some of them we could hand make, but then to carve out a rose like that, so this is a rose mold and there are a lot of sizes I'm going to make and show. So carving out a rose like that is quite difficult and time consuming, and that is when these molds come in handy. Now this is a flower center, the center that can be used for a flower. Say this is the sunflower center, and most of is like we can use it specific to the flower, but then if you are making a filler flower as well, these are tiny ones that come in very handy. So when you just check out on these molds, now you don't have to hoard a lot of it, but it is essential to keep some of them. So when you have to have a quick fix on a cake and they make it look like really grand because of the intricacies that this mold is going to give on the fondant, is going to be a really add-on. So this is another very intricate flower, and they are the leaves as well. So this one is like a gems mold. Okay, you can see like it's like a jewel mold. Now you put on the fondant and take it out, and then you're going to paint around on the pearls, and then the center is just going to be like a stone. You could do an emerald or a sapphire kind of a painting on this. So that is for the jewel. So this one is what I used for the Vajra, the T-Rex skin texture. So I specifically purchased this, it was not available in India, but I had purchased this because I was very specific that the skin needs to have that texture. So this is the animals or reptiles or crocodile that you're going to do, then you have this mat to completely cover. So these are stuffs which are smaller ones that just go on the cake like an add-on, where you already decorated the cake, like cover the cake with fondant, and these are just going to be on top of it. But molds like this, you can consider that you can cover the entire cake. Now it doesn't have to be like you have to have a carved crocodile to have the skin go on top of a crocodile, or you could also have a cake and then you can wrap it around the cake, and then maybe you have some figurines on top, like maybe a smaller crocodile and stuff, and then that entire thing is like a reptile kind of a cake. Now this one is like a knitted sweater. I'm not sure if you can see through the texture, but I'm just going to make and show. This is a knitted sweater base. You could just do it like maybe you're making a teddy bear cake, and then you just get the fondant out of it and then just wrap around on the teddy bear. But obviously it's going to go in patches. Then the patches are just going to have no seams at all because it is just going to go next to each other. So the seam problem is not going to be there, and that is how the molds are made as well. Now even if you see the molds here on this side, the whatever pattern is there, the mirror image or the reverse will be here. So as you keep attaching the panels one next to the other, they are just going to merge without any seams, and they are not straight lines out there. The molds are made like that to be able to attach them one next to the other. And this goes with a combination of this. This is again a plate, knitted plate, and then this goes really well. We could use them to cover the cakes on the sides and like an added element on the side as well, or you could do that to a novelty cake where you're carving a cake and then having them placed on the cake to give a really very realistic effect. In fact, I had used this on the life-size Santa Claus cake that I made. This is the mold that I used for the hand of the Santa, which was like an woolen glove that the Santa was wearing, and it was like in a brown color, and it looked like super realistic, and like it makes people think that, you know, I sat down to go on and then actually sculpt that woven thing there, like the knitted thing. But then, you know, that super realistic thing gives that wow factor, and but then the time that was taken to actually finish that was pretty much less. So collecting this, not too many, but then see when there is a need. Like I got this only when I had to think about the Santa's gloves, and I actually bought this only when I had to think about the Vajra skin, and these ones when I had to just go around to teach bas relief in an event, and then I thought I needed these molds. So as and when the need comes, then I start holding, but not too many, but I do have good amount of collection, and so you can also start to check on when you need this. And so now let's get to start making. So the first one, I would just do one of this and then one of this. I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to make the bigger patches as well. Okay, so I have black fondant. You can use any, and then they are good to be dry dusted later, or you could just paint on it as well. I'm just going to knead it first. So let me start with one. So just see which one are you going to use. If they are the small ones, just take a small ball like that, okay, and then just pop it in and press it down. Now your goal should be that the entire fondant should have gone completely inside that cavity. Now what you're not supposed to do is to take a bigger portion thinking that maybe you could cut it out later, but then just pop it in, okay, and you're going to leave out some of the fondant outside thinking that you could cut it. Now you could cut it, but then that is going to take some time, and it is a little more time consuming process. Okay, so when you are going to work on a smaller piece, a smaller area, take a smaller ball, drop it in, and then use your fingers to press. Now depending on whether the silicone mold is going to be used first, you might have to dust it with corn flour, because a new silicone mold is going to be very sticky. Now you see the difference between this one is like completely sealed in, and this you see there is a bit of mound on the top. However, I'm just trying to push it through, so it is concealed within the mold. Now I'm going to take this out. You can see the excess here, right? So I know that there is that excess. I will pinch that off, because this is not like a really bigger mold that you had already put in too much effort that you don't want to waste it. Now I've removed the excess and then I'm pressing it in. Now it's all concealed inside. So this way it is easier rather than having the excess there and to use the craft knife to cut, because that is another precision work. Because we are using these molds, so we try to use lesser time and then produce better results, right? Now this is excess and now this is popping out. Now if I am going to use the craft knife and then keep cutting, remove the excess out. Now the time taken to actually cut off the excess and then press it back to take it out is going to be more. So I suggest to use what quantity you think will just go in and then fit in completely. So when you take it out, you're just going to have the shape of that mold. Now I'm just going to put in one into this mold. I'm just going to pick the bigger rows, kneading up the fondant. So I'm just going to see if this size is going to be enough. Pressing it in. Now I know that it is more, right? It is just popping out, you can see. So I'm just going to take it out and remove some of the fondant. Obviously you don't want it to have creases, so put it in, and now it would just go in. Just make sure you're just pushing it through the intricate edges. Everything has to be concealed inside but pushed till the end. Everything is within the outline, in the level of the mold, and nicely pressed. Okay, now one of this, let me do it in another color. Pick out, first knead. Like I said, you don't want the creases there. I'm going to drop it in. You can see the intricate edges here. You need to have the fondant pushed in. Now as I'm pushing in, I know there is excess here on the top, right? So I would just take it out, okay, and remove that excess. And now pop it in, and I can feel that this fondant is sticky because that has been drying out for some time. The black one has been drying out for some time, but the brown looks quite soft. So I'm just going to dust the corn flour and then tap back excess, so it is not too sticky inside. Half the ball and then press it in. Now when you have an intricate mold like this where the leaves are also attached, I'm just going to open up and then press it in. Now if the fondant is soft and you're just trying to pull this one out, okay, now if I know that the fondant is not too soft, now if I'm just going to take this out, don't try to pull this one out because it could just waste that design. Put the, now if it is not too sticky, it's going to pop out like this. Now otherwise put it down and then try to pop this out without disturbing the fondant. Now looks like there was excess corn flour there, so I'm just going to replace to show you how that design looked, taking some more. Now if the fondant is quite stiff, if you're going to pop out right after you just put it in, it is going to come out. But a soft fondant like that, now let me just open this one also. So put it upside down and then pop it without having to handle it by pulling. Okay, so now this we have. Now this one was quite soft, I could still try. I'm just going to put it upside down and then try and take it out. Now when we are taking it out, you can see that it just gets stretchy. Now if you are doubtful that it is not going to come out because the fondant was quite soft, okay, so now it just got stuck there because it was sticky. Okay, So what we do in cases like that, soften up, you can just, because you need as many, so have the fondant, put in the molds and freeze them for 5 minutes, put it in the freezer. Okay, freezer is where the water turns into ice, becomes solid. So put it there for 5 minutes, and when you take it out and then pop, it is going to be like hard and not soft anymore, and then you're just going to have it in one piece and it is going to be solid, so it is not going to lose its shape. So this one I am just going to pop in the freezer, and then I am just going to take it out and show how to handle when the fondant is really soft, and then when you have to use the mold, then freezing it in batches, like you are going to work on, because that 5 time is like a wait time for you, but it is worth it now if you are going to have your fondant too soft. Otherwise you could add like a pinch of CMC or Tylose powder on the fondant that you are going to use, and use that. It is going to quickly harden up your fondant, and it could come out like how this black has come out. Or if you have gum paste, then you could just mix up half gum paste and half a fondant and then have that. So it is just about the consistency of the fondant, and so if it doesn't come out of the mold, then don't think you're doing something wrong, because the fondant is soft. You could do 2 ways, like I said. Now pop the soft fondant. Now if you don't want this piece to be like too hard on your cake, because you want people to cut through and eat, and then you want it like a soft consistency of the fondant, then popping this in the freezer and then taking it out and popping this one out and placing it. So now when it comes out of the mold, it is going to be hard because it was in the freezer, but then it's going to come back to its soft texture when you're going to place it on the cake. So the texture of this is not changed. Now if you don't have to do the wait time putting it in freezer, then add a bit of CMC to the fondant if it is soft, and make it to a little harder state, and then work on it, and so you can just pop out immediately like you've done with a black mold. So this one will go into the freezer, and I will show it after it's frozen. Now let's do a bigger mold, how it is going to be. So I'm just going to take a bigger portion of fondant, and I'm going to first roll it out, take it to a thicker sheet, and that I'm going to place it on this mat. You can call it silicone mat, and then I'm going to roll on it to press it, so the texture on the mat is going to get transferred onto the fondant sheet. I'm going to check the size. Okay, so it is going to fit in, but as I have rolled, you know that this is the right side up, right? So I'm going to place this one upside down. I'm just going to dust corn flour on the mold. Tap off excess corn flour, and then place the right side down. Use your fingers, and then also roll on it. Okay, now here we can't be just using the exact size needed. because there is going to be excess, and I'm just going to cut the excess out. Okay, now I'm just going to roll it and then take it to the edge. Just want the impression to be deep. I'm still going to cut the excess. You can take it out as well and then cut off, so you know where exactly the pattern ends, and then you can just chop it out from that part. So now that the fondant is also not very sticky, we could just open it now, but even then flip it upside down. Now that this is quite easy, it's just going to come out by itself. But then if you think that there is a slightest of doubt that you're going to stretch the fondant out as you're going to peel the fondant, if it was the other side, then we want to avoid doing that. So I'm just going to leave this behind and then pull the mat out, so the impression would just get transferred, and you can see the realistic knitted, sweater wool is just there. And as you keep making, you just keep appending another sheet and then another sheet here. And when you're going to panel the cake also, you just make sheets after sheets, and then you can just put one next to the other. Okay, so I also have a few more. Now this is the one that I had popped in the freezer. Now you saw the brown fondant was quite sticky, right? Now once it is frozen, when you pop out, it will be solid and it is just going to pop itself out. So that's another easy trick. Okay, So you can look at the intricate work, and these molds come in really very handy when you have to do the bas relief, and they make a beautiful addition. And because they are fondant and it's just been frozen only, now they'll get back to its soft texture, and you could just blend the edges when you're just going to make it look like a rough stone texture. And these are like the broken sculptures on the surface of the cake. We could just break out few of the edges and then just place these together, and you can keep adding, and they make a beautiful bas relief effect. Okay, so I'm just going to place this. Now the longer you freeze, then it could condense, so you just need to be a little more careful about letting it condense. Now I have added a few in here. I wanted to show in certain molds, especially this one, you could do dual colors. Now I'm just going to pop in a bit of red in that, okay, and press it in, and making sure that red is there inside that, okay. And then I'm just going to use maybe blue, and then on top of that, so you could just try a dual tone. When you're working with the jewelry kind of mold, now instead of painting it later, you could just pop it in now. Check for how much more will be needed. I'm just getting the excess out. Push it through. I'm going to press it in so it just comes in one piece. Now I'm just going to pop it back. There's always risk of using soft fondant and then just taking it out immediately. You could lose out on the shape, and that's why freezing, and then here you can check how intricate flower just comes out so easily because of the freezing time. Now here is the dual jewel mold, and these are again the jewels that has come out from this mold. Now I have these flower mold that comes in really very handy, but they are like quite big. Okay, so this mold here, you can see the beautiful, now it's going to take forever if you are ever going to sculpt something like this, like say think of using the Dresden tool and then getting an effect like that. And again here there is the center of this mold here. I could have used yellow inside that and then popped out a red or the color what I would like to choose, and then this would already have the center, the stamen part here that has been colored in a different color. Okay, so I'm just going to place it there. One thing I have here is the pattern that goes with the knitted design. I had made this also, so you can check how this pops out. It's like the most beautiful one out of the collection that I have. I never got to make a cake with this combination, but then you can think of this going next to each other, and then like a panel, and you have another one on the top, and then cut out to go around on the sides of the cake. Is like going to make such a beautiful combination. You can see how intricate this work is, like very realistic plates of knitting using woolen threads. Okay, so I'm just going to place this aside. And the last one I have here is another favorite mold, and this is the most used, the number of times I've used this should be the most, which is the Vajras, the T-Rex's skin. So peel this one out, so the shape and the sizes just remains intact on this. Okay, so just observe the texture It's like the crocodile skin basically. Okay, so you can see that, like I said, the mold is designed in such a way that this edge will go and match with this edge without any seam. So you can have as many panels as you want, so there's no seam at all, and then everything merges together. So this is the first few that we made. It made this extra. So you have all of them made here. So some of the gems mold, these are the flower centers, and this is the mold that was used for that. So, and these are the gems, and these are the flowers, and all that mold that you can use to enhance the look of your cake without having to put in a lot of time. So hopefully this will be really useful, and we'll see where we can use these kind of work to put it on our cake. So see you in the next lesson.